Good afternoon, Zambia, and welcome to Beyond the Whistle with me, your host, Isaac Chipotanga. What an enthralling day that we have in prospect at WAFCON 2026, because it's the day that most Zambian fans have been waiting for keenly when the fixtures came out. It's a battle between two neighbors in as far as the COSAFA region is concerned. It's Derby Day, and more importantly, it's the day that Zambia will ultimately decide whether they qualify to the quarterfinals of the 2026 WAFCON tournament, or will the Malawian Scorchers have other ideas in this particular group. All that is coming up in terms of our comprehensive build-up to a huge match in as far as the implication is concerned for both these two sides. The other two sides are in the Group C at WAFCON 2026 are record champions, 10-time former champions. That is the Super Falcons of Nigeria, and of course the Cleopatras, as they are nicknamed, the female pharaohs in Egypt, locking horns in the other encounter. Just for the avoidance of doubt, both matches kicking off at 22 hours Central African time, at the same time, to avoid any shenanigans, if you like, in as far as match fixing is concerned. We have an interesting topic, as per tradition on the show. Today we're scrutinizing the level of refereeing at WAFCON. This comes in the wake of many questionable decisions at WAFCON 2026. And of course, we'll be delving into matters pertaining to how the referees have conducted themselves, and of course, the VAR controversial decisions that have engulfed WAFCON 2026. What can we do better as an African continent moving forward in that regard? I'm not alone, but I'm joined by two experts in as far as the world of football. First and foremost, on my immediate left, a man who has represented Zambia at 4 Africa Cup of Nations tournaments, and of course anchored that midfield to give precision in terms of passes to the strikers to find the back of the net. William Jobu joins me on set. William, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Isaac.
Okay, and on the far side, playing the role of left wing is the resident analyst to provide, that balance in the team, in the name of Gezani Mbeo. Gez, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much, Isaac, and good afternoon, our viewers.
Let me go to you because you're the resident here.
Yeah.
Let's start with you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Group B yesterday was the focus in terms of WAFCON 2026. You had an opportunity to watch at least both of those matches. What do you make of, the performance, first and foremost, of the Ivory Coast, because they topped that particular group, beating Tanzania 2-1?
Well, that was a great performance, I think, being put by Ivory Coast. They knew that, I think, they had not much work to do, because it was all about if they win, they qualify and they top the group. And just like they finished the table 7 points, for me, it's not easy, because it looks like each and every team that went to WAFCON, they have really performed very well. They prepared for this tournament. So I think for me, kudos. That was a good performance by Ivory Coast, because you look at them, I think, yes, in terms of, I think, scoring, not scoring a lot of goals, but I could see how they organized, the way they can build up from the goalkeeper. And, also, I think they played a very good game. And, it's good. I hope that they'll continue, I think, in the quarterfinals, because for me, that was a brilliant game that they played.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the other hand, a very, very, impressive South African performance. They managed to squeeze into that second position, courtesy of that 1-0 victory against Burkina Faso. What do you make of South Africa's, progression in this particular tournament? Because they started with a loss, came to a draw, and of course, in their last fixture, managing that victory that secured qualification to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, well, Isaac, I think, like I mentioned yesterday, I think South Africa did not start the tournament very well, and I think even in yesterday's win, you can see that they're not really a team that are really. They don't really look like a South African team that these are the defending champions. A team that I saw win the WAFCON. I saw them beat Zambia in the semi-final in the last WAFCON.
Yes.
2022.
2022, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
I saw them beat Zambia, but the kind of football that I played against Zambia that time around, and the kind of football that they showcased this time around, I think they've really underperformed. For me, as a former champion, expected more in terms of their tactical approach in terms of their energy. But yeah, well, this is football, you know, and the tournament football is like that. Sometimes teams who will not win a game and you know, maybe make 3 draws and qualify. South Africa, fortunately, they got all the 3 types of results that you can get in football. And, you know, you know, like you already said, they squeeze themselves into the last 8. So, hopefully, I think I'm looking forward to a South African team that will play very convincing football. And the knockout stage usually is a place where you see players also, they give everything, and maybe we'll see a better South Africa.
Let's just confirm those results from Group B using the graphic that you're going to see on your screen. And there lies the you know, proof of the pudding, if you like, in Group B at WAFCON 2026. South Africa getting a 1-0 victory over Burkina Faso. And of course, it was the Cote d'Ivoire, or the Ivory Coast, getting a 2-1 victory over Tanzania. Let me come to you, Mike, because I want to get your thoughts on particularly, you know, South Africa, because as me and Coach William were talking earlier on, the fact that, you know, South Africa started off with a loss and then drew their second match and won their third match. There's a common cliche or saying in football that your first match at a tournament is very important because it sets the tone. South Africa have, you know, trashed that, you know, theory by, you know, starting poorly, but ultimately progressing. What does that tell us about the mental strength of this Banyana side?
Well, this is a team that started very slow. They started the tournament with a loss to Tanzania, and then they needed that must-win game against in the second game, and you saw very well how important that second game victory was for them, because had they lost that game, then yesterday's game was going to be a little different. So I think modern football is getting really competitive, but I heard Coach William rightly put it that this is not the same South Africa that has played at the highest level of football. And what now looks like, I think yesterday was a matter of we get the goal and we just, you know, get maximum points, because even a draw was never going to be enough for Banyana. So yes, I think that Desiree Ellis has played her cards right on changing the goalkeeper from Andile. I'm sure you've seen that she's using more of Kellen Swart. So that, and also Swart paid that with a clean sheet.
Yeah.
I think that overall, South Africa may struggle going to this tournament if they approach the same games as they are playing, because next they have the host Morocco in Rabat, and it's going to be an entertaining game, so to say.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about, you know, individual players, and in particular the match winner yesterday, because Thembi Kgatlana managing to score for the second consecutive match at WAFCON 2026. How crucial is she, you know, to South Africa's, you know, chances and hopes of even, you know, upsetting the apple cart, if you like, against the host nation?
She's their star player. She's been at this stage big player, to be honest, and she's a big name in the dressing room. When we talk Banyana, we talk Thembi Kgatlana, and they are lucky to even have her back in the team. Remember that there was a time that she took a break away from the team, and now that she's back, she's showing that she can play, you know, scoring decisive goals and earning Woman of the Match awards is not something that is easy. If Banyana are to progress further in this tournament, Thembi Kgatlana will have a huge say. And if Banyana are to come out of this tournament, then Thembi Kgatlana's performance will matter. That's the kind of player that we are talking about.
Okay, let's just remind our viewers of the final group standings in as far as Group B at WAFCON 2026 is concerned. It's the Ivory Coast on top with 7 points. They advance alongside South Africa on 4 points. Let me come to you, Gezani, because many people probably wouldn't have tipped the Ivory Coast, considering that they haven't been to the, you know, WAFCON for quite some time. They needed the back door to get into the tournament, but there they are. You know, even though they managed to get through their rankings to get to the tournament, they topped the group. Has that surprised you in any way?
Oh, not really. I think sometimes you look at how the country has organized their football structure, and they are not far from success, because you look at even how men they have performed, and also you look at also the women, how they are. Not only, I think, qualifying or maybe topping the table, but also the way they are, I think, building up, the way they are playing. I think finding the spaces in terms of, I think, when they have got the ball, I think they are so interesting and they are so, I think, motivating. You look at the way they are booming forward. I think for me, like I told you, that they prepared for this tournament, and it's not a surprise that they have topped the group. We can talk about South Africa because I think, like Coach said, the performance has dwindled down, but they had to depend on the brilliance of the individuals. I think for me, that's why South Africa, if now they know that they're meeting the hosting nation, Morocco, I think for me, they'll change something that they will need to do, because I think Morocco, they're on the top gear. So I think for me, I'm not surprised that Ivory Coast, they have really performed that.
Okay. The quarterfinalist is quickly shaping up. We now know, as you can see on your screen, that 5 teams from the 8 that will play in the quarterfinals have already booked their place. Coach William, I want to come to you, because there's been so much talk about teams that qualified using the rankings, that did not qualify using performance and getting the results on the pitch. But when you look at, the 5 there, 2 of them actually came through the, ranking. The Ivory Coast safely through. Cameroon have already booked, their slot in the quarterfinals with 1 game to spare. And Mali still have an opportunity in that group D, to qualify. So, are you surprised that these teams that are using the back door are getting into, the latter stages at the expense of those teams that actually got the results on the field of play?
I'm not really surprised. The fact that they use the rankings, it tells you a lot about the level of teams that had missed out from like the usual qualification criteria. So I'm not really surprised that we see teams like Cameroon and Ivory Coast, that they managed to go through. And I can tell you that I've watched Ivory Coast throughout the group stages. They're one of the teams that I see. They're very solid. They look really organized. And if obviously you did not deserve something, and then you are given, the opportunity to have that thing, I think you would want to show that even if you did not get it initially and you have a chance to have it, you would want to show that you deserved it. So I think the Ivory Coast are one of the teams that I think they're looking really solid, and the fact that they use the rankings, it means that they got the teams that are performing better in Africa. Maybe they are not very lucky to qualify during the qualification period, but for the fact that it's a ranking, it means that these are teams that are better. These are teams that, are well organized. This is why they're even further in these rankings.
Okay. Mike, I want to ask you particularly which, game you're looking forward to watching in as far as the quarterfinals, as the last 8 shapes up. Let's just quickly look at, the quarterfinals on the screen, because we already have 2 matchups in terms of the quarterfinals. On Saturday, we can confirm that it's the Ivory Coast up against Algeria at 19 hours, and of course Morocco lock horns with South Africa. So those 2 are already cast in stone. We await who Cameroon is going to, meet in terms of Sunday's quarterfinals, and of course the last quarterfinal. But from those 2, which one really, really stands out as a fixture you're looking forward to watch on Saturday?
Without wasting time, it's Morocco versus South Africa. This game is a blockbuster on any given day. Women football has really seen the greatness of these games. Remember that South Africa won the WAFCON at their expense, and so it will be more of another grudge match for the Atlas Lionesses. They are looking forward to making amends from last time when they fell short. Remember, this is the Morocco side that has reached the finals twice and fell short to South Africa and then later to Nigeria. So they have everything to play for in this game. We expect something that I'm also looking forward to this game is that we expect a full house. So the crowds will begin doubling as the tournament progresses. And that's something good, not only for the camera, but also for the tournament. So that game is number one. Then I'm also looking forward to Cameroon potentially facing Zambia in that blockbuster of the game. Remember that Cameroon and Zambia have been on each other's neck, but it's early days for now because we still have a game today. But that could potentially be another game because Cameroon and Zambia last met in 2022, and Zambia managed to get a draw against the strong Cameroon side to go on to finish third. So interesting matchups coming.
Okay, time for us now to move away from the action and focus on our topic of discussion, scrutinizing the level of refereeing at WAFCON. Mike, before I come to my studio guest, let me come to you. What do you make of the refereeing standards at WAFCON 2026? Because there have been a number of, decisions that have raised a lot of eyeballs, let's put it that way, at this particular tournament. Having, the opportunity to watch matches inside the stadium and at close quarters, what do you make of the overall standard?
Well, I'm honest about this. I've seen there's a lot of issues around the same, but overall, I think the standard of officiating has improved compared to the previous tournament. I think it was more of worse officiating at the last tournament. Yes, we've seen a few obvious errors, and referees have generally allowed games to flow, which is definitely fine. But there's still a lot of work to do, even from the CAF aspect. Speeding up VAR reviews is something that is non-negotiable. There's no way a decision can happen 7 minutes later and 10 minutes on, you're still on the same decision. It means that we need to improve the communication with the fans. There's a lot of anxiety and also suspense around the stadium. You just see matches stop. There's nothing on the screen to tell you what's happening. By the time they're telling you, a decision is almost made. So there's also need, in my opinion, that there's a lack of confidence in the system at this WAFCON. And VAR specifically has been my concern. It should be able to make football less controversial. But what we are seeing is that it's fueling the fire. It should not make people debate if this was correct or not.
Gezani, let me come to you because I want to ask this specific question because somebody asked me to ask you this particular question.
Yeah.
And they said to me, ask Gezani, does he really think that we've got enough competent women referees on the African continent? And now we're seeing more questionable decisions because the expansion of the tournament means more games. It means that you need more referees to officiate in those matches. And maybe because that expansion came so sudden, we just don't have the number of referees at that level to give us the correct decisions that we expect at this particular level as big as a tournament as WAFCON.
For one, I think I'll be very confident and I'll tell you this. Africa is not lacking female referees. I think so far how we've just accounted our WAFCON, we've been on point. And also, it's good that I'm able to see Zambian faces being at WAFCON, I think assisting in terms of, officiating. That is great. And that tells you a story, I think, in terms of, how decisions has been made at WAFCON so far. I can tell you that I'm very happy. I think the only problem is that we are taking so much time to come to a conclusion. But out of all these things that has gone to VAR, I think the decisions that has been made, I think for me, I'm very happy. A good example is I'm going to give you is about when Zambia we played again. We played the first game. We played the first game. You look at how they took that time because there are two decisions that they were going to make. But the free kick, before we took the free kick, they reversed it and said that before the free kick was, committed, fouled on Kundananj, there was an offside. They brought in an offside, a decision, and everyone was happy. I think I was happy because it was an offside. So they reversed the yellow card because the yellow card was given after that incident. Before the incident happened, the player was on offside. So that tells you that I think they are getting them correct, but it's taking too much time, which is becoming boring. When you are taking so much time, somebody will think like you want to twist the decision, you want to twist the rule. So when it comes there and you call for intervention of VAR, a referee, at least in less than a minute to come up with a decision, then people, they will know and they'll grow confidence in you saying that they know what they are doing. I think in terms of capacity and the capability of officiating, I think in Africa we've got very, very good women that can, I think, thrive the game to the greatest heights.
You say that, but let's look at one particular, aspect or incident at WAFCON 2026. The Ghislaine Shabak, incident in terms of the penalty that was awarded to Morocco in that Group A, encounter against Senegal. And you're going to see it on your screens that the referee failed to follow law number 4 in terms of the penalty kick of International Football Association Board IFAB laws of the game. During a Group A match, I'm coming to you, Coach William, at WAFCON 2026, Morocco was awarded a penalty with Yasmin Rabet, who took and missed. After a VAR ordered a retake because Senegal's goalkeeper encroached off her line, Moroccan captain Ghislaine Shabak stepped up to take the retake instead. However, the referee incorrectly refused the switch and forced Rabat to take it again. So clearly the referee got the decision wrong according to IFAB. And yet Gezani is saying that we've got competent referees. Does that still give you confidence if you're a coach there, coaching at the AFCON or the WAFCON, that the referees are going to make the right decision?
I think generally you have to give allowance to human error. If there are things that happen in closed doors, maybe again, but generally I'll give allowance to human error. So
one would argue that yes, if it's a free kick and it's the game is flowing, we understand. But surely you've got your 2 assistants, you've got a 4th official, you've got 2 or 3 guys in the VAR room. All of them, we're assuming, are qualified at FIFA level in terms of refereeing. Yeah. None of them can whisper because you've got communication in your ear. None of them can tell, well, if Isaac misses, Gezani is allowed to take the retake penalty. So all of them missed it. Doesn't that say incompetence?
Yeah, if by law, it is allowed to. If by law, you can switch a penalty taker if one has missed. Then this is not a human error. Then this is an error that needs to be, really attended to. Maybe the match commissioner, like the boss of referees on that day, should be questioned. I don't know who, if the match commissioner or is the 4th referee, that should be questioned, or the one that appointed these referees on that particular day must be questioned. Because if by law, like you have stated, if by law, it is allowed to switch penalty kickers when one misses during the game, then I think the referees got it wrong. So, meaning that, yes, this raises a lot of questions. And, our game is surrounded by so many things, suspicions and these things. And hence we all still brings, even the issue of VAR taking too long. Because VAR, like Mike has stated, I believe when I saw VAR for the first time, I said, okay, human error going to be corrected within a short period of time. And meaning that if a human if a referee makes a mistake, that VAR will correct it, because you have 4 people in the VAR room that are analyzing whatever happened
from different angles, different camera angles.
So
exactly,
so in this case, I think in this case, there are many questions has to be asked, and we need the people that love football need to get some answers.
Mike, let me come to you, because I want to talk about VAR, and in particular the duration. We've compiled a list of some of the incidents that have taken at least 3 minutes at WAFCON 2026. In terms of the referee going to the VAR screen and actually coming to a decision. And in a moment we're going to look at some of those incidences on our screen. My question, as we look at those particular incidences. 5 minutes, for instance, in the one of the incidences involving Egypt and Malawi. 8 minutes in one of the incidences between Cameroon and Mali, which led to the penalty and ultimately Cameroon winning from that penalty that was, scored. Lengthy reviews involving, Cameroon and Ghana and so on and so forth. Gezani was talking about those two lengthy, decisions that were made in the Zambia game against the Super Eagles of Nigeria, as well as for the red card, as well as, those decisions, for awarding a penalty in the first game that Zambia beat Egypt. But my question is this. We are told that VAR was brought into the game to ensure that they eradicate clear and obvious errors, in inverted commas. I quote, surely if it takes 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, then it's not a clear and obvious error, is it?
No, then it's not. That's a legitimate question that you've asked, because then fans will begin to question its existence. You've rightly cited clear examples, and it's worse even in the stadium. At least on the screen on TV, you're able to see a note down to say, checking possible penalty. But for someone who's at the stadium watching on those big screens around, that message does not come until after some time. So it creates a lot of anxiety. It creates a lot of issues around. Fans begin to debate whether referees make these mistakes. And like Coach William has said, referees will always make mistake. They will always miss 1 or 2 points. But obviously 4 or 5 referees missing one issue is not correct. And the real issue for me is about consistency. What fans have been talking about is something that is consistent. If a similar incident was judged this way, then let the other decision be the same. It cannot be right. Today, handball feels like this, and then the same incident, same angle, you change the decision. That's where the issue is for me.
Okay. I'm going to ask you all a question in a similar way, because our next graphic, as we wrap up on our topic, speaks to the very cancer that we're talking about, because this incident happened in the WAFCON that was played in 2024. The 2024 WAFCON played in 2025 because it was postponed. I'm making reference to the fact that CAF sacked their director of referees after the final of that WAFCON in 2024. And you can see the sequence of events leading up to, him being sacked. We're not going to go into that, but I want to come to you, Coach Gezani, before William and, of course, Mike wrap it up. In a way, the fact that CAF sack the head of referees, the person who's in charge, to say, Gezani, I'm appointing you to go and officiate Zambia versus Malawi, after a complaint by Morocco, does that tell us that the Confederation of African Football is admitting that the standards are just not good enough?
Well, not really like the standards are not very good enough, but what happens is that for you to identify that there was a mistake, it means that I think there was an error. And what happens is that when you have shut the game, there's a match commissioner who's going to write a report. Then you write a report. After writing a report, and also they will include also the center referee also to make sure that how he or she officiated that. And when it comes to that, then you find that you're at fault. Like we said, they are human beings. They are bound to make some errors. But some errors, sometimes they will investigate. How did you make this error? Because you know the rule of this. So that's when now you're going to be spotted on. And this is the reason that made, then again, the boss was fired. So sometimes we cannot write off that I think definitely everything has been bad in terms of officiating. No. But when we find an error, then it is able to be worked on. It means that even those people are coming next, they are going to be conscious because they will avoid that. Like we are talking about, I think, being refused. You want to change another penalty, somebody to take a penalty. Then you are supposed to be told from the VAR saying that, no, you can allow that. So meaning that even the team did not help that, did not help the center referee. Because the center referee sometimes, these are rules. You need to act on them at a very quicker stage. So even there, she was supposed to be tipped to say, no, you can allow, they can change somebody to come and. So on that one, if I'm looking at this issue, it means that one, I will not just deal with the center referee. I will deal with the people who are in the VAR because they could have tipped to collect the mistake. So I think for me, these things happens, and that's what we want. If a referee fumbles, being punished, because sometimes we've been crying. Even here in Zambia, sometimes you find that referees, they are not being punished for their silly mistakes. So when it shows also transparency, saying that we are not happy on how we officiated. So when they are punished, then they are going to learn something. I want that thing to trickle down, even here in Zambia, where we are broadcasting this live, but in Zambia league, when referees, they fumbles, they need to get punished, and that punishment should be not hidden by reducing the number of matches that they are officiating, but also they should know that this one has been punished.
Coach William, if your team doesn't get results, they fire you as a coach.
Yes.
If a referee gets it wrong, what should they do to the referee as punishment? Because ultimately, especially this tournament being a qualifier for the World Cup, a silly mistake, one simple mistake by the referee can cost you going to the World Cup, can be the difference between you going to the World Cup and failing.
Yeah, so I think if you say, if I don't get a result, they fire me or they fire the coach. I would say
what's the appropriate punishment for the referee?
Obviously it's not one result. Obviously it's a season, maybe a consistency of bad results. So it all goes back to the referee. If one same referee has shown consistency of making wrong decisions, then it's not good enough to be the referee. For me, it's better that the
get rid of him.
The way the coach at the end of one season or 2 seasons, they'll be let go because they haven't given good results to the club. I think the referee should be punished the same. Because I feel referees feel like they're immune to to being chucked out or to being fired. Hence, they'll continue to make the same mistakes. So we should, for me, the system for referees to improve, to make consistent good decision, we should also have a system where if a referee has made in a season more than 10 mistakes, I don't know how they can set a standard. If a referee has made at a WAFCON, made 3, 4, 5 mistakes, I know there's what they do, how they pick referees to officiate in the quarterfinals, the semifinals is based on these things. But also at the end of a tournament, if they do a report of each referee, they check, then they should not pick these referees for the next WAFCON, or maybe for the next 3 WAFCONs. Maybe we'll reduce these mistakes that sometimes I think is not human error. Sometimes it's decisions that they make. Sometimes it's emotions. Sometimes they decide that maybe I like this team, I want this team to win. So
true.
I've heard one referee say this before when I used to play. Say, no, I'm a fan for this club. You think I can let them lose? You know? So, but my point is, they should also there should be standards where you are also in a danger of losing your license as a referee, or losing your position in the Super League or in the National League or at WAFCON, or losing your position. Just if we create these standards maybe and make them, like emphasize on them, maybe we can see an improvement in the, in the officiating in general.
Mike, as we close this discussion, let me come to you. So maybe you can wrap up the conversation for us. When CAF sacks its head of referees, is it CAF using him as a scapegoat? for something that is deeper than just sacking one individual? Because I'm thinking you work at the Football Association, for instance, for quite some time. Every single month we've got a CAF E coaching course. Somewhere around the country we've got a CAF E coaching course, CAF B. There are a lot of coaching courses in a 12-month period. Sometimes we are lucky to have one referee's coach, refereeing coaching course during the course of 12 months. And maybe this is due to budget constraints. I don't know, whatever it is. But is the real issue maybe we're not investing enough as, Africa in terms of, educating the referees. And that's the biggest problem that maybe we're facing in terms of getting wrong decisions consistently at WAFCON after WAFCON.
It's an issue of capacity mainly. And I've just gone through my thoughts, and imagine if that Morocco versus Senegal game was a semi-final or was a decider to getting to the quarterfinals, for example, was a decider to winning the game. And then Mrabat still takes that penalty despite Shebak and all those players wanting to take it. And then Morocco would definitely cause an issue, because ultimately, not going back to the issue, but ultimately the team is allowed to change the penalty taker. The only thing that needs is identification. So even the goalkeeper, Morocco goalkeeper, could have rushed to the penalty spot to take. So it's the issue of capacity, but it's the issue of the right investment in the game. Also, constant reminders about the laws of the game. The laws of the game are changing. And so before even the season starts, this transitional league for both men and these other lower leagues, we expect to see these engagements with referees that first deliberately takes up the mantle, educates referees on the laws of the game, because it will be, for lack of a better term, silly to be taught by a fan on certain laws of the game that have changed during a Super League game. So referees have to be abreast with what's happening in the country or in the world as regards to refereeing standards. But federations, Confederation of African Football, as well as FIFA, should take up the mantle by educating more referees. And just like we have FAS E courses, we should have referees courses starting at an early age, so that we groom the young referees up the ladder.
In addition to what I think Mike has said, at one point I put up a proposal with the FA. I said, before the season starts, I think it was going to be very important you invite the coaches of the clubs, especially maybe what we call, I think, the National League and also the Super League. The coaches, head coaches, should have a meeting together with the referees. Those rules which have changed, they need to learn them, because believe me, coaches sometimes they become very busy in terms of interpreting the rules to the players. So when you have that seminar, then you are going to learn them. Those coaches now, you cannot blame them. Why I am saying so is that sometimes even the players who are playing the game, they can't identify the direct and indirect free kick when it is being taken. So we need not to be very, I think to take it very, very easy, because people, they need to have knowledge. Like Mike is saying, we need to have, the FA should organize these people, they meet together, so that when silly mistakes they happen, then you are able to say that, coach, you attended this. This is the rule that changed. According to FIFA rules, what has changed? What has been amended? So I hope that our suggestions here can be taken very serious with the FAs.
So that's our in-depth look in terms of our topic of discussion, scrutinizing the level of refereeing at WAFCON. And this is in reference to the fact that we've seen a number of questionable decisions at WAFCON 2026. Time for us to move away from our topic and focus on the matches that are lying ahead in terms of tonight's action in Group C. Let's begin with that, other match in the group, because Egypt take on the Super Falcons of Nigeria. Mike Mulanga, our staffer on the ground, caught up with Osinach Ohale, one of the key players in the Super Falcons side. She's playing in a 6th WAFCON tournament, has won 5 Africa Cup of Nations women's titles. Let's hear from her ahead of kickoff against the Egyptians.
Thank you for having me here. Tomorrow is another good day. I think it's even more important than the first and second game we played. We already know what's at stake. we know the importance of the game, and we're gonna take it with all seriousness, and even do much better than what we did in our last game.
So that's, Osinachi Ohale there giving us her perspective on the match. Brief and, of course, straight to the point. Mike, come back into the equation. What can you tell us about what is happening inside the Nigerian camp in terms of possible injuries, possible suspensions? We already know that one player in particular got a red card against Zambia. How is it looking like in terms of, player selections at the disposal of Justin Madugu, the Nigerian coach?
Yeah, obviously Demehim is not playing a part in tonight's game. She got the red card and she wanted it twice. The first one she survived because of offside, and the second one when she did wrestling on Barbara Banda, she had to go. So that one is definitely out. Doubts on Echejin as well, the midfielder who plays for PSG. Really a doubt. And then luckily their captain Rashidat Ajibade is fit. We saw her taking a walk with the rest of the team today. So must be a strong Nigeria side, likely to play the same way that they did against Zambia, taking Michelle Alozi back to a right position. Last time out in the first game against Malawi, they used her on the left. So this time they would want her to use her on the right more, and most likely as well, Asisat Oshoala, after saving Nigeria's fate, will likely start in front.
Okay. Let's hear from the coach of Ohale, Justin Madugu, talking about the fact that they're not going to play into the gallery, and more particularly not rely on permutations ahead of that match against the Egyptians.
Sounds funny, but it's a serious matter. We have done all the various permutations of what can get us through, and we know exactly which of the permutations can take us through. We want to have our fate in our hands and not leave it for anybody to decide for us. So we are going straight for what we know will put us through, and that we are aware of. Look, we are the principal beneficiaries when a team does well. So there's no reason why we will begin to do things that we know will not help us in any way. It doesn't make much sense. We try to do our best, because if we win, first of all of us are happy that we have won. And you have made a lot of people also happy. That is something that we don't take for granted, because we know what football means to our countrymen, and we know how they feel. And especially for the Super Falcons, the kind of confidence and trust that people have on the Super Falcons is not something that we take for granted. We are all aware of that. And so each time something goes wrong, we know how much pain it causes to our people at home. So we will not begin to do things that will begin to cause pain for people. Things can go wrong. It's not a deliberate thing. It could be a mistake. Yes, but we are quite aware of the scenario. We are quite aware of the pains, and we will always do our best to make sure that we make our countrymen and everybody happy.
Those were the thoughts of Justin Madugu, the Nigerian Super Falcons coach there, giving his perspective on matters pertaining to the match against Egypt. Let me just get your thoughts, Coach William, because everybody looks like they've written off the Egyptian side in this particular encounter. Can they spring a surprise against the Super Falcons?
Going by the last two games that they've played, I'm very. I think it's difficult for them to win this game. And if we go back to Nigeria first game, they lost, and I think they're aiming to finish on a high. So I think I don't think Egypt are in a position to surprise. Okay. But football being football, you can never really write them out.
Yeah. Okay. they can still mathematically qualify in the unlikely event that they beat Nigeria by a huge scoreline. And obviously, the Scorchers of Malawi beat Zambia. It means that the three teams will be on 3 points.
Yeah.
The permutations will start to come into play. So are you surprised that many analysts, fans out there seemingly are saying, oh, Egypt don't have a chance against the Super
Well, I'm not surprised because I don't expect Egypt to cause an upset against Nigeria. Why? Nigeria, they've got that vast experience. They know how sweet it is to win the WAFCON. And of course, they are 10 times winners of WAFCON. And they know that tonight's game is a must win for them to brighten the chances of qualifying to the next round. So I think for me, Egypt, their performance has not been very good in terms of their performance. I think conceding 9 goals, just scoring 1 goal, I think for me, that is a worrisome. Because we're talking about a team that I think will always score, and they've been scoring goals, Nigeria. So if it's to lose, Egypt will need to score close to 2 goals and above. So that I think is very difficult. But of course, like you've said, mathematically, they've got still some chances to survive and qualify to the quarterfinals. But I don't see this coming because Nigeria, just like they managed to silence the Copper Bullets, I think it will be a very huge task to ask Egypt to beat Nigeria this evening.
Okay, we've had the perspective of the Super Falcons and Nigeria ahead of this particular kickoff. Let's hear now from Amira, one of the Egyptian players, talking about the fact that majority of this squad are playing at a major tournament for the first time, and this has had a toll in terms of their performances at WAFCON 2026.
طبعا بعد آخر ماتش احنا لعبنا، احنا كنا نازلين أصلا خلاص هنلعب لعبنا، كان في خوف طبعا، بقالنا سنين ما دخلناش البطولة، كان معنا لعيبة صغيرة برضو أول مرة تشارك، فكان بنحاول نديهم الثقة انهم يلعبوا كورتهم ويلعبوا كرة على الأرض. هم لاعبين كويسين جدا، بس الخوف والرهبة اللي كانت عندهم كانت في أول ماتش ما كان مسيطرة على لعبهم، فما كانش ظاهر لعبهم قوي، فكنا بنحاول نظهره الماتش التاني. ما كانش فيه توفيق ان احنا نكسب وكده، بس يعني كنا بنحاول على قد نقدر. لا، هو في منتخب مصر موجود بيلعب كورة قدم، بيلعب كورة على الأرض. ممكن بعد كده السنة اللي جاية إن شاء الله نقدر نعمل حاجة، ناخد مركز كويس في البطولة.
So that was Amira, one of the Egyptian, midfielders, talking about this match that they're about to embark on against the Super Falcons of Nigeria. Before my 2 studio guests come back into the conversation and give their thoughts about Egypt's chances in this particular encounter, let's hear from their coach, Muhammad Kamal, who's talking about the fact that they will not neglect their possession style of football that has served them so well to qualify for this particular tournament, even though results have not come in the first 2 at WAFCON 2026.
تحضيرنا لمباراة نيجيريا زي المباراة اللي فاتت، احنا بنلعب باسلوبنا، بندرس الفرقة اللي قدامنا. طبعا منتخب نيجيريا زي ما قلت قبل كده منتخب قوي، منتخب كبير، ومنتخب عنده هدف ان هو يوصل للدور الثاني اللي هو على وشك ان هو يخرج يعني. فاعتقد ان احنا هو هيبقى عليه ضغوط كبيره جدا جدا، عايز بيحفز لعيبته، بيديهم، عايز ينهي المباراه من بدري، واحنا في نفس الوقت برضه عايزين نأدي بشكل يليق باسم منتخب مصر.
Yes, when you listen to both, a player and, of course, the coach speak, ahead of this particular match, let's talk about the body language. You think that they believe that they can do the job against the Super Falcons themselves?
No. I think for the player to come up and say that, I think you can see that 80% of the players, it's their first big tournament that they were able to play. I think they have already accepted themselves, saying that we can make this, we can treat and maybe understand ourselves that we are just trying to get some experience. And experience that they are getting, they might be dangerous in the next maybe WAFCON if they qualify at all. So I think for me, sometimes you understand yourselves, the position where you are. Also, you can see the coach, what he is talking about. So I think for me, it is all about accepting that they have been not very good enough, and they have conceded a lot of goals, and they are failing to score a lot of goals. So I think it is all about managing the situation and say, we might be coming strong, because they could have learned one or two things during this WAFCON. So I think for me, they maybe a surprise they can manage to beat Nigeria, but I don't see that happen, because looking at the experience, you talked about a player that is being interviewed. She's played the 6 WAFCON. She's won 5. That's experience.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the body language for I think the player and the coach does not seem to be, I think, so positive.
Time for us to switch matches and focus on Zambia's game, because everybody is looking forward to this particular, Southern African derby. It's the Copper Queens up against the Scorchers of Malawi. Let's begin by hearing from Zambia's goal custodian, Hazel Nali, ahead of that particular match, before my two studio guests here react to what she said and build up to that huge encounter later on today.
So for me, I heard you mention about our defenders not having so much speed. So one thing I would say is the team that we're going to be playing against is they've got players that we also have. Like they play the same type of football where speed is concerned. So that is something that we will not get surprised to see, because we're always seeing that in training through our players, our captain Barbara, Rachel Kundananji, and the others. So that is something that we're trying to work on as a team, and because we know obviously it can be considered to be our weakness from our defender side, but trust me, that's something that we're working on, and hopefully we can do it better, or we can get it right.
Coach William, you hear Hazel Nali, they're talking about the importance of the speed in terms of, the attackers from, Malawi. How do you counter that from a tactical point of view as a coach, knowing that you're facing players who are going to probably play that ball behind the last defender and use the speed of the Chawinga sisters to try and get that goal? How do you counterattack that particular aspect of the game?
Yeah, well, I think the most important thing right now from her presser is that you can see that the team understands, they know their weakness.
Yeah.
The team knows their weakness. So for me, this is very good, especially that it's coming from one of the players, and that player is the last person at the line of defense. So I think even yesterday I mentioned the first, when you're trying to when you're playing a team that has got pressy forward players, and the first question is how do these pacey forwards get the ball? Is it through build up, and then eventually they arrive in these places where they can run on you, or is it long balls? But in the case of the Flames of Malawi, I think the last 2 games that I've watched them, they play direct. They don't try, because defensively they don't try to do many things. Defensively they just start and they shoot it forward. They pass it forward because they understand that they don't have enough quality to try and build and and find their fast forward players who are the Chawinga sisters. So the strategy should be to try and the first thing is to try and close that long ball. So it's better you let their goalkeeper kick that ball, because if the goalkeeper kicks that one, is a bit far, is a bit further to reaching their strikers. But if Zambia let them make 1-2 passes, because that's what they do. They start, but they don't do build-up play. They start so that they can just gain some space forward to make that long ball behind your defense, like what they did to Nigeria. So that is number one for me, to try and close that long pass or that long ball that they make all the time when they start. That's the first time. Then number two, like I said yesterday, we don't make a very high line because we understand, like Hazel has stated, Zambia understands that they don't have pacey defenders. So if we make a high line, we expose ourselves. So for me, we try and make a middle block. The one that we call middle block is just so the pitch has got three phases. There's a build-up phase, there's a middle phase, then the finishing phase. So the middle phase is a creation phase, like creating phase, and then the last phase is the attacking phase, like the finishing phase, where you know,
but to play in an offensive area,
where you're close to the goal and score. So I think we need to keep them on the middle phase, so that, you know, we have little space behind us. Even when they make that long pass of theirs, it will be able to find Hazel and Ali quicker. Because if we are like we go all the way to the center, there's too much space behind, and by the time, you know, we expect Hazel to sweep, by that time maybe one of the Malawi strikers might have already gotten to the ball. So yeah, first is to try and close the long ball. Second is not to make the high press where you go all the way to you know, press them towards their own goal. So we try middle block. So like we're 50-50, the balance between not conceding the ball behind that is dangerous and not allowing them to make that long ball.
Okay, we've heard from Hazel Nali, we've heard from the coach. Time for us now to hear from the head coach of the Copper Queens, Coach Nora Hopley, ahead of tonight's game.
Recap the game against Nigeria. I would say, we conceded a goal. We made there a little communication error, but we were also in the ownership, in my opinion, in the first half. So we had 4-5 excellent transitions. We forced, you know, the yellow cards and the red card. So basically, it went all the way, and we were in control. What we missed then is in second half to take the possession, you know, in the numerical advantage. We played too much chipante-pante. So it's just about to take this learning out of this halftime. And again, we don't need to rush against Malawi or get hectic. I think we again need to find a stable approach into the game, a controlled approach, and then it's to build the performance Panono also layer, you know, with subs, and so that to have a good game plan B and C, you know, how can we, you know, in the right moment when the game in demands it, lay something more to the offense. And I think that we are clear in our approach. And we are positive, as your shirt is saying, Mike.
The Kosafa derby.
Yeah.
The Kosafa derby, the biggest derby.
Basically, I have to feel I would not bring it down in a derby. Basically, when I overview all the group stage games, then I would say we play the strongest group in this tournament. You can question a little bit the seeding. Why is Morocco and Nigeria as number one seeded and nobody else? I've never seen in my life a tournament where only two teams are seeded. I don't know if Morocco invented this rule or who invented this rule, you know, but that's how the regulations are. So we face in a group, I would say, with Nigeria, Malawi and us, three of the best teams in the tournament, and one will not go through. It's just part of the fact, but I would not break it down now in a derby or whatever. I think Malawi, it's from the world ranking very underrated, because their issue was that they had not enough points to enter in the qualification for the WAFCON. Because at these points you need to gain over friendlies, which they not had, you know, and so it took them a while to enter in the qualification. But I always said, I mean, this squad is as equal to us. They have, you know, top players on the world level, and they have players abroad, you know, which they also have a good average in the squad behind the top players. So it's a very similar team in the picture to our team, and for me we know about the strength. We also played against each other a lot, so players know each other, we know each other. Tactic-wise, there are not so many secrets, I would say, in this game. But again, we bounce back to us. It's about to find the focus on our performance. How do we want to start? How do we want to approach? So we always bounce back to us in the focus.
So those were the views of the Copper Queens coach Nora Hopley. Mike Mwanga, you were in Rabat, for that press briefing, and they're posing those questions to her. First and foremost, a two-pronged question to you. Beyond what we heard in terms of what she said there in camera, what else can you tell us about what caught your attention in terms of that press briefing? And secondly, many people are wondering, especially Zambian fans out there, Rachel Kunjananji came off with an injury. Do we have a confirmation whether she's fit to play in this match, a crucial encounter?
First things first, I think you heard the coach speak about the rankings, and she's very concerned that one of 3 teams will not be able to play the quarterfinals and qualify for the World Cup. That can be either Zambia, Nigeria, or Malawi, in that the only ranked teams there at this tournament going into the draws were Morocco and Nigeria, and everyone else came through from the pot. And she now even questioned the criteria of seeding, and obviously that's something that caught my attention. As regards to the FIFA issue as well, she is saying that the FA has taken up the matter to FIFA. Remember that in the final list we have a player in the Zambia team, Frida Mukoma, but she did not even show up for media day. She's not in the country. She's still in China, and club Beijing Jingstan had caused issue. They said that she's injured and cannot be released, therefore. So there's been that controversy. Outside that, then comes Rachel Kundananji, and still a doubt. I think that you have to be really deep to get that, but she's still a doubt for this game. In my opinion, from what I have seen, I think that Rachel will not start today's game. Instead, NLS Piri will start from the wing, probably have Messi Chipasula having more minutes compared to the last time. Then in midfield, we are likely to see a more 1 or 2 changes. Eva and Susan Katongo may be involved heavily in today's game. And of course, at some point, we are going to see Salia Mwanza taking up the left back position after Rachel Nachula's game.
We're pressed for time. We're probably in the dying, maybe 1 or 2 minutes of the show. But I'm going to ask you to maybe try and compress this before my studio gets here, wrap it up with their final thoughts in as far as this match is concerned. There are 2 sides that are playing in this game. Let's get the perspective from the Malawian side. What is coming out of their camp ahead of kickoff tonight? And secondly, anything else of importance that you feel the Zambian fans must know ahead of kickoff tonight at 22 hours?
Yeah, you've rightly caught me right. I just wanted to give you a quote from Malawi. I hope it comes in very well. Yeah. But Malawi are not stopping at this. If there's a team that's confident, even in their way of talking, the way of movement, is Malawi. And right now they're saying they're targeting 3 points, only to be the first team at this tournament to get 3 out of 3 points. Beyond that, they have those Chawinga sisters, but outside that, they have Asimenye Simwaka, who I can show you on the screen here. Yeah. Asimenye Simwaka was at the Commonwealth Games happening in Glasgow, and she's come back to play for Malawi. So this is a player that plays netball, plays football, and is also an athlete, plays boxing. I think she does everything, maybe even TV presenting. So she's back, she's come in camp, and she's ready to fight for a place. She's likely to play today, and we have a huge saying, because remember, they're looking for pace, and Simwaka is one of them. So for Malawi, it's a strong Malawi side, the Temwa sisters will start. Faith Chinzimi is also starting. Letitia Sinyamula is also starting. So it's going to be a good COSAFA derby in North Africa.
Thanks very much for that insight, Mike. We appreciate it. And we'll catch up with you tomorrow from 16 to 17 on another edition of Beyond the Whistle. Hopefully Simwaka doesn't get my job because it's the only one that I have. So, yeah. Thanks very much, Mike. We'll see you tomorrow.
Beware, because we'll look out for her during the mix zone. We'll try to ask her what else she can do. Can you do Isaac's job quickly? And then we'll get the answer for you.
Thanks very much, Mike. Gents, I know that time is never our best ally, but I'm going to ask your closing remarks as we head, to kick off. Let me begin with you, Gezani.
Well, I think it's the game to watch. It has got a lot of, I think meat to chew.
Yeah.
Because Malawi and Zambia, I think, very good rated countries. I think we've met just at COSAFA, I think 5 times.
Yeah.
Then, of course, 3 times Zambia has won and 2 times Malawi has won. And now we've taken this rivalry to the best and one of those important stage at WAFCON. And this is the game to watch. Looks like Malawi, they will not give up because they know that I think both teams, they should be really eyeing for the advance to the quarterfinals. So I think Zambia has just to sit and relax and enjoy this moment.
Okay.
Because if you've got an opportunity, you understand Chewa, make sure that you look where there's the Chewa commentary. Because it will be like Chimzimu. So from Chimzimu, Temwani. So I think it will be so interesting and it will be great. And may the best team win because some of us, I think, we've got divided, I think, blood. So.
Anyway. Coach William, your final thoughts are in under a minute.
No, a very, very interesting game. I think, like Gezan has put it, for me, is a game that I think is a 50-50 game because the Malawi have strong attacks, strong attackers. Zambia has got strong attackers, and is a game for me is a very good and interesting game because it's a game of sisterhood. These are 2 teams that they know each other very well. They even interact, it's not just know each other like in terms of in football, but they know each other most at the personal level. And Malawi and Zambia, like I said, we're not very far from each other. We are like the same people. So is a derby of Nyasaland and Northern Rhodesia, but it's also a derby like in another country, but in the same country.
Yeah. So those were the thoughts and analysis of my 2 studio guests here, Coach William Njovu and, of course, Gezani Mbewe. And, of course, special thanks to our colleague on the ground in Rabat, that's Mike Mwanga, giving us the insight and the scoop from all the 4 camps that are involved in Group C ahead of kickoff tonight at 22 hours. Remember that we're also live on 5FM, which is 89.9 FM. So make sure that you continue, supporting Beyond the Whistle. On behalf of my 2 studio guests, Mike Mwanga and the rest of the team doing a fantastic job behind the scene, my name is Isaac Chibotanga. I'm going to close by hearing from the Malawian coach, Lovemore Fazili. He's talking about the team not underestimating the Zambian side ahead of kickoff. We'll join you tomorrow from 16 to 17. Bye-bye and God bless.
Blessed, I think they are aware of what is coming next, and everybody is very serious about it, and we're taking it serious. This mission with the ability to do better. So we have 6 points at the moment, and we're fighting for another 3 points. That's our motto, because it cannot be good for us, I think, to bow out from this competition. So we're fighting for that, and the maximum 3 points is what we're fighting. And it's very important to us, as I've said already. Why it's very important, I think it will be bad for us, or worse for us, because if we be knocked out on this stage without reaching quarterfinals. So we're fighting for quarterfinals as well, because the players and the morale is safe. I think it's good for us, I think, to go through. We are not underrating Zambia. It's a sister country, We have played so many times with Zambia, and Zambia, I'm telling you, is another strong team, a strong country. We do respect them, and we have played for so many years with them. They are the country we have also, motivated Malawi, I think, to be here. So it is going to be a very tough game.